All right, I'm going to have to get started because I actually have to go back to campus and give another presentation. So my name is Alfred Ayoub. I'm an admissions manager with Columbia University School of General Studies. And today what I'm going to talk about is a couple different concepts. Number one, we're going to discuss the idea of competitive college transfer admissions. I'm going to then go ahead and discuss Columbia University School of General Studies and the structure overall of Columbia University. I'm then going to detail the undergraduate schools at Columbia, the different undergraduate schools, because I know it can be a little confusing for transfer students when they're thinking about Columbia. So there's a couple different transfer options, and I'll discuss that. And then finally, I'm going to conclude with going into great detail about Columbia University School of General Studies and the application process. And usually I speak to a slightly smaller group, so just to be a little more expeditious today, I'll ask for questions at the end. Unless there's something I said that was completely confusing, by all means, just raise your hand. We'll get to the bottom of it, okay? So first and foremost, in terms of the idea of competitive college transfer admissions, raise your hand here if you're in the honors program here at Bergen. Excellent, phenomenal. Okay, I'd like to see that. Raise your hand if you're in Phi Theta Kappa at Bergen. Wonderful, wonderful. So if you did not raise your hand for either, you might consider thinking about joining one or both of them. The honors program at Bergen is fantastic. It displays that you have a hunger and a desire for more than the typical, for a more challenging education, and that's going to definitely look more competitive when you do decide to apply to various institutions. So something I want to go over when it comes to competitive college transfer admissions is the idea of the number of schools you plan on applying when it comes time to transfer. So usually I like to take kind of the temperature of the room and say who here is applying to X number of schools. One thing I want to note is that I travel around the country. I go from Miami-Dade College to Santa Monica College to Washtenaw Community College in Michigan. And frequently I will talk to these really strong competitive honors or Phi Theta Kappa students. And I'll say, how many schools are you thinking about following a journey here at your current community college? And oftentimes students will tell me, well, I'm thinking about 2 or 3 schools. That's what I'm thinking about applying to. Does anybody fit that category where you're thinking right now about 2 or 3? Maybe? Yeah, sometimes, you're right now you have, a top choice school and then you have 2 that are on the back burner. What I really want to stress is that strong students coming out of high school, traditional students, typically will apply to, on average, 6 different colleges when they've completed their high school journey. And I just want to stress to you, as a transfer student at Bergen Community College, you should absolutely keep your options open. So if you were one of those students that was thinking of 2 or 3, go ahead and definitely think about upping it to 6. I have students sometimes that raise their hand and say 10 different schools. If you're able to do it, that's great, go for it. In terms of the ratio of the 6, typically 2 of those schools are going to be what they call reach schools, or schools you're not sure you will be accepted to. It's going to be quite competitive, but in terms of what they're offering academically, it's in line with exactly what you're looking for. Then we have 2 schools that are in the middle of the road. Your profile matches fairly well with what they're looking for, but again, it's not 100% guaranteed. And then 2 schools that are kind of fallback schools you know you will be accepted to. Now, something else that frequently occurs is I will be at a transfer fair and a student will come up to the Columbia University table and they're intrigued, tell me more about Columbia, let's discuss this. So I'm sharing with them information about Columbia, and then one of their questions is, now tell me what tuition is. And I say, well, tuition's currently $1,500 per credit hour. And they'll look at the brochure, and then they'll look at me, and then they look at the brochure, and then they set the brochure down, and they back away from the table. They shut me off. They don't want to hear anymore. They think this is no longer a possibility. And one thing I want to stress is, regardless of the institutions, you might leave today and you're thinking, well, maybe Columbia's not the best fit for me, but I have some other reach schools I might be thinking about. Regardless of the institution you're looking at, you never know how much it's going to cost until you've applied and you're admitted to a school and you receive a financial aid package. And then you have the reveal. Then you know exactly how much it's going to cost you to actually enter that school. So I really want to stress, you never ever want to turn around on an opportunity before you know exactly what is behind the door, so to speak. So if you feel that Columbia University is a good fit, if you feel that we are a viable option, that our academics and our resources are exactly in line with what you're looking for, you should absolutely apply. And I'm here to share that we actually had 8 Bergen Community College students join us at the School of General Studies in the fall of 2014. So this is a very much a possible option for you. So I really, really want to stress that. Of the students that are admitted to the School of General Studies, and again, I only travel to community colleges discussing this program. Of the students that are admitted, 70% will enroll. 70% found a way to make this financially feasible. And we have something called a new student scholarship at Columbia School of General Studies. It ranges on average from $8,500 to $10,000 per year. And in fact, we also have a special scholarship designated to one Bergen Community College student each year. It's $12,000 per academic year. So that's something that we also offer. But again, on average, the new student scholarships anywhere from $8,500 to $10,000. Any questions now before I talk about Columbia University and the reasons why you might be interested in Columbia? Yes?
How do you apply to the new school scholarship? Is it after you get accepted, or is it?
Well, first and foremost, one thing, that's a very good question. It's at the time you're applying for admissions. So you'd go ahead and fill it out, and that's in our financial aid section of the School of General Studies. Now, one thing is, if you are a traditional student, and I want to talk about the nuanced differences, they have different financial aid. So I'll talk about that briefly as well. So in addition to kind of the idea of competitive college transfer admissions and the idea that you should always keep your options open, let me talk about why you'd be interested in the Columbia University specifically. So, so many students will come up to my table and they'll say, I'm interested in Columbia because you're an Ivy League school. And while yes, we are an Ivy League school, and this is a hint to everybody here who might be thinking about multiple Ivies, let's say, by telling an admissions officer, admissions, whatever their title is, that they're interested in your given institution because it's Ivy League, that really tells that admissions personnel absolutely nothing about why you're interested in the institution. Ivy League is a term that came about in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's an athletic conference. It's very specific schools in the northeastern United States that compete against one another athletically. So unless you are literally coming to Columbia to play a sport, telling me that you're interested in Columbia because it's an Ivy League, again, sounds like you're really into the football team or row or tennis, but it doesn't tell me exactly what it is about Columbia that you're interested in. Who's looking at multiple Ivies? Raise your hand. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm just going to note all of you. No, okay, I'm joking. But this is going to be helpful, okay? So, every Ivy is different in terms of structure, in terms of education philosophy. Understand what is it that they pride themselves on? What is it that they feel sets them apart from other, and this goes beyond Ivies, but other highly competitive elite institutions like a Stanford or University of Chicago. What is it that they're offering that they feel sets them apart? How is that in line with what you're looking for? How is that going to allow you to reach your goals? And then articulate that in a very beautiful manner in your essay, okay? So what I always note about Columbia is, first and foremost, the reason why you'd be interested in Columbia University is for the challenge, okay? I have to stress that. You should have a hunger and desire for a challenging education. It goes beyond the list of alumni, it goes beyond the name Columbia, it goes beyond our location in New York City. You should truly be interested in a Columbia University because you are interested in a challenging education. The expectations of every single professor is going to be quite high. I always give the example, here at Bergen, raise your hand if you're a front row student. You're excellent. See, almost everybody raised their hand, even the ones in the back of the class, because bottom line, you are the student that the professors can count on. You're going to be engaged. You are going to be ready to again, kind of lift the overall perspective and conversation within class discussion. Every student at Columbia is fully engaged, is prepared, is ready to compete academically. So if you're interested in Columbia, that's the #1 reason. You should be hungry for the desire. Now, another hint I like to give students is something called the core curriculum. At Columbia University, we pride ourselves on the core curriculum. The core curriculum is a signature to an undergraduate education at Columbia. It's the idea that you will be exploring various disciplines, from the social sciences to the natural sciences, the arts and music humanities. We have a foreign language component. We have a quantitative reasoning component. We have a global core component. It's to ensure that you're developing your critical thinking skills, that you're developing your analytical skills. If you're a political science major and you just so happen to be at a party and somebody brings up, it's an intellectual party and somebody brings up Picasso's Blue Movement, and even though you're a political science major, you can talk about the Blue Movement. You know what that is. So again, it's the idea that when you graduate from Columbia University, you will be a Renaissance man or Renaissance woman, okay? That's very different from other Ivies. One of the other Ivies, for instance, Brown, has an open curriculum. They pride themselves on having that open curriculum for undergraduate students. So again, just know what is it that Columbia University feels as their signature, prides themselves on, regardless of the undergraduate college you're looking at Columbia. So I'm giving everybody a hint, the core curriculum is very important. Understand how that core curriculum is important for you and how that's going to lead you to your ultimate goals. Okay? Now I want to talk about, well, any questions? I know I'm throwing out a lot of information at once. Any questions? Yes?
From break-in, you can only transfer to their general studies, is that correct?
If you've had time off in your education, at least 1 year following high school, we are the most appropriate place you should apply to, the School of General Studies.
If that's not like a major. I mean, it's major, but it's more like...
School of General, I'm going to talk about that. General Studies is not general at all. It's a fully integrated undergraduate liberal arts college. You're obtaining a Bachelor's of Arts, and you have 70 different majors to choose from. The exact same majors as traditional undergraduate students. I'm going to talk about the nuanced differences between the schools. So let me, yes, just one more.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Do you receive the same degree as you would if you were in the, not the regular, whatever you...
Yeah, no, go for it. So yes,
Yeah.
you will receive the exact same degree. The difference is this. And let me talk about the structure, and then I'm going to talk about that, okay? So first and foremost, Columbia University was founded in 1754. We are the 5th oldest university in the United States and the oldest in the state of New York. Our original name was King's College, and we changed the name to Columbia College following the Revolutionary War. You can imagine we no longer wanted to be affiliated with the monarchy. We eventually then changed our name to Columbia University when we began offering graduate degrees, okay? Columbia University is an umbrella. When you say the name Columbia University, 20 different schools fall underneath that umbrella. We're considered a blueprint of research institutions. We have the College of Physicians and Surgeons, our medical school. We have the business school. We have the School of Social Work. We have the School of Journalism. We have the School of International and Public Affairs. We have the School of Nursing. The list goes on. And the law school. And then we have 4 distinct undergraduate colleges. So the graduate schools are more professional based. The undergraduate colleges are essentially fully integrated academically, but administratively we serve different student populations. Okay, so again, I want to stress, academically we're fully integrated, but administratively we serve different student populations. When I refer to administrative, I'm referring to advising, financial aid, admissions, housing, okay? So this is as follows. The first undergraduate college is Columbia College. Columbia College, if you recall, King's College then became Columbia College. That's the foundation of Columbia University. That's a liberal arts college devoted to traditional students. A traditional student being a student who has never taken time off in their education. Okay, so a student who has never taken time off in their education. If this is your first or second year at Bergen and you have never taken time off, Columbia College would be the appropriate place to apply to. All of the majors and concentrations listed in this brochure are the exact same majors and concentrations that Columbia College offers. Now I'm just going to go over this briefly. I don't have time to delve into deep detail on Columbia College, and in fact, I do not sit on that admissions committee, so I cannot give you any other nuances, but this is what I can tell you. And for all of you that do have breaks, you can erase this from your mind because you're going to be more interested in what I have to say about our application process. But if you do not have a break and you're interested in Columbia, and specifically Columbia College, the liberal arts majors and concentrations listed, they only admit students for the fall. The fall 2015 is the next time you can apply. They take the common application, okay? You will have to submit your high school transcripts as well as a standardized test score, such as an SAT or ACT. They are also going to ask for 2 recommendation letters, and they have 3 supplemental essay questions that go along with their application. One of the essay questions asks, why are you transferring? And I will tell you this, you always, always want to speak positively when it comes to your experiences at your current institution. I went to a Columbia College transfer presentation recently, and they wanted to stress that. So, again, discuss how Bergen has helped you and has created, allowed you to become a stronger student, okay? That's something that you should really stress on. All right, in addition to Columbia College, we have the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. They also take the Common Application. For both of these schools, all of their information for transfer students is online. So you're going to want to, after today's session, if you are a traditional student, I am not the authority, the website is the authority. So go online, go to the Columbia University website, and take a look at transfer admissions to Columbia College and to the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, okay? The third school I want to mention is, who's here familiar with Barnard College? Raise your hand. Good, I'm glad to see that. So Barnard College is our women's liberal arts college at Columbia, and if you're familiar with the history of the Ivies, if you were a traditional student and female and you were interested in going to an Ivy League, at the undergraduate level, you would go to their sister school. So for instance, Harvard College, they had a school called Radcliffe. Radcliffe is their sister institution that has since fully merged with Columbia University, okay? Hello, welcome. In addition, forgive me, I said with Columbia University, Radcliffe's fully merged with Harvard. Barnard is our sister institution, okay? So in terms of, they were offered to merge with Columbia University, however they decided to remain separate. So they have their own president, their own board of trustees. And if you are a woman in here, and if you are a traditional applicant, you should also look at Barnard as a possibility. Why? Because Barnard is right across the street from us in Morningside Heights in Manhattan. And Barnard students can take Columbia classes, and Columbia students can take Barnard classes. In fact, many departments are housed at Barnard. So for instance, if you're interested in drama and theater arts, which we offer at Columbia for undergrads, many of the faculty will be Barnard faculty members, okay? The final school, and the one I'm going into great detail about, is the School of General Studies. The School of General Studies, again, is a fully integrated undergraduate college at Columbia devoted to non-traditional students, or students who have taken time off in their education. You have to have had at least a one-year break from after high school to qualify for the School of General Studies. There's about 9,000 undergraduate students at Columbia University. 1,700 of those students are at the School of General Studies. The average age of our student population is currently 28 years old, and we have 17% of our students are actually international students. They come from all over the country and all over the world. And again, I recruit all over the country. So it's a very, very diverse student population. Our students have taken time off for various reasons. So for instance, about 300 of our students are veterans of the United States military. We actually have the largest veteran student population among the Ivy League. We have students that are career changers. We have students that stopped education to raise a family. We have students that have taken time off for financial reasons. Various reasons, but one thing that you all have in common is that you have taken at least a one-year break in your education. In terms of discussing the School of General Studies history, we were founded in 1947. It was the conclusion of World War II, and a fun fact, President Eisenhower was president of Columbia University at the time. And the first GI Bill was introduced by the federal government. Thousands of these service members were coming back from the war, and President Eisenhower in particular wanted to create an institution that can meet the needs of this very unique student population. So it was a very interesting time in higher education history. The School of General Studies was formed, and again, today we have students from various backgrounds, not just veterans of the United States military, although you do make up a very, very important population among the undergraduate community at Columbia University. I saw a hand go up. What was your question?
My question was, what if the break was, you went from high school to another school and then you took a break and then you're here?
That's fine, as long as you had at least a one-year break at any point in your time after high school, but it has to be a consecutive year off. Yep, this is. Yeah, oh, I apologize. I do apologize. Okay, just one more question, then I'm going to have to move on. Yeah.
So who would you talk to make sure that you qualify?
You can talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah, you can talk to me, and I'll throw out my email address after the presentation, okay? All right, so in terms of the School of General Studies now, I'm going to talk about the application process, okay? Now again, the School of General Studies application process is, that I'm going to discuss again, is exclusive to the School of General Studies. So if you're a traditional student, if you're interested in Columbia College, you need to go onto their website and review their information. It's very different. So first and foremost, the School of General Studies, the application is at gs.columbia.edu. gs.columbia.edu. We do not take the common application. If you submit the common application and you're a non-traditional student, it's going to go to the Columbia College, and that's going to be a very circuitous route back to us. So I really strongly urge you, go to our website, fill out our application, gs.columbia.edu. In addition to our application, we are going to ask for high school transcripts, and if you did not graduate from high school, we will need a GED. If you attended a high school outside the United States and your transcripts are in a foreign language, we will need those transcripts translated to English, a direct translation to English. In addition to the high school transcripts, we will require official college transcripts as well. All official college transcripts. I have to stress that. If you did a year at Montclair State University, took 5 years off, then went to Borough Manhattan Community College, took another 5 years off, and now you're here at Bergen, we will need all 3 official college transcripts. Even if the grades, all your grades are on a single transcript, we will need all 3 official college transcripts. I can't stress that enough, okay? In addition to your college transcripts, we are also going to require a standardized test score at the School of General Studies. Now, I'm going to be speaking to 2 different groups. So the first group I'm speaking to with regards to the standardized test is if English is your first language. If English is your first language, or if the primary language of instruction while in your high school was English, we would classify that as your first language. If that is the case, then you need to submit one of the 3 tests. You can submit an SAT, you can submit an ACT, or you have a third option. The third option is called the General Studies Admissions Exam. And the General Studies Admissions Exam is the SAT without the math sections. Now that General Studies Admissions Exam is only for students who have never taken an SAT or ACT, or you have taken one and it's been more than 8 years. Does anybody fit that category? Excellent. Okay, so the General Studies Admissions Exam can be an option for you. Again, this is a test that's only for the School of General Studies, so you cannot call us and say, send this over to Cornell. That's not how it works. It's only for the School of all the examples I'm giving are things that have happened. It's only for the School of General Studies, okay? So it's a $50 exam. It's only administered on our campus. Well, it's administered around the country, but you're in the tri-state area, so come to campus and take the test, and you do have to pre-register for it. How do you prepare for the General Studies Admissions Exam? Simply, go to your local public library and check out an SAT prep book and ignore the math sections, okay? Because it's going to be the SAT without the math sections.
So it's if you've never taken the SATs before.
Or if you have taken them, but it's been more than 8 years. So if you fit that category, English is your first language, you've never taken the SAT before, or you have taken them but it's been more than 8 years, go ahead and submit the General Studies Admission.
Is there certain dates when you can take the test?
Yes, there are. So you can't just show up to the office and say, I'm ready, let's administer this. You do have to go to the website, gs.columbia.edu, and pre-register for the test, and we do have those dates listed. We currently have them up until late November, but I promise you there will be more posted shortly. All right, so in addition to the General Studies Admissions Exam, oh, forgive me now, did anybody, I was going to move on from the standardized test, but there's a second group I want to speak to. So if English is not your first language, if the primary language of instruction in your high school was not English, you will need to then submit none of the 3 tests I just listed. You will actually need to submit either a TOEFL or an IELTS score. IELTS is the IELTS. The TOEFL score that we're looking for is quite competitive. We want to see that you receive around a 100 out of 120. Okay, so moving on from the test scores, we are also going to now ask for recommendation letters, 2 recommendation letters. Being that everybody is here in Bergen, academic recommendations are always preferred, and academic recommendations will certainly enhance your candidacy. So if you were thinking of using, you know, your friend who just so happens to be a congressman, that's not an academic recommendation letter necessarily. So the strongest recommendations are going to be professors, faculty members who have taught you, who can speak and discuss your academic abilities in a substantive manner. All right, so I really, really recommend that, yes?
Now, does it make a difference in their credentials?
No, that's another great question. So I always have a student that'll say, well, I have, you know, the dean of the history department doesn't really know me, but I've interacted with him on a couple occasions through different clubs or organizations, but because he's a dean, I think I'm going to use him as a rec. No, go ahead and use an adjunct instructor. If you know, you found the class challenging, if you performed well in the class, and you have a good relationship with that instructor, by all means, they may write a highly appropriate letter for you. Any questions about that?
Would you also be able to get a recommendation letters from advisors or, for example, in clubs or organizations?
Yeah,
that you're
honors
in?
directors are appropriate, especially if you performed research, for instance, here at Bergen, and you have a faculty member that can speak about your research, for instance. But if you have an yes, that could be appropriate, but you would want to submit that as like your third recommendation letter. Meaning if they never taught you, if you were never in an academic setting with them, that would be like a third recommendation. Because they can speak to your abilities with regards to your dedication, maybe your ability to multitask, which are all appropriate. All right, the final component to the School of General Studies, and the component that really sets us apart from a typical application process, is the autobiographical essay. The autobiographical essay is unusually long. It's 1,500 to 2,000 words in length. That's like a 5 to 7 page double-spaced Word document. And the reason why we're asking for that length is because you're non-traditional. You've followed a path that is different from the typical. So we want to hear about your academic experiences. We want to hear about your life experiences. Why did you take time off in your education? What inspired you to return to Bergen Community College? And why are you now motivated in such a way that you're interested in one of the most challenging liberal arts institutions in the country? What are your ultimate goals? So one thing I like to know is that, you know, again, we're working with non-traditional students here. Students are coming in various stages of their life journey, their academic journey. By all means, if you face significant obstacles in life and you've overcome those obstacles, share them in your autobiographical essay. If there was significant reasons why you took time off from school, why, you know, back when you were a traditional student, it simply was not the right time, you can discuss that. And one thing I like to really stress, and with some of you I think I already discussed it at the transfer fair, but the idea of perspective and the idea that students from different perspectives create a richer learning environment. You can take that here at Bergen Community College and you can attest to it. If you're a non-traditional student and if you're a traditional student, you're in the same classroom, you have different perspectives. And faculty members appreciate that. So again, our job at the School of General Studies when we're reading those essays is, as a non-traditional student, what is the student's perspective? How are they going to enrich our learning community? So if you, I'm going to give an example. If you never thought when you were in high school, however many years ago that might be, that you would apply to Columbia University, and you do not have the dedication, you did not have the drive at the time that you do now, discuss that transformation, discuss that journey, okay? How are you different? Why are you different? Yes?
How many recommendation letters do you recommend?
To the School of General Studies?
Yep.
2, and then if you want to submit a third, you can. I would not go beyond that. Do not send in 5, 10, 50, you know. Some students get really eager and they'll have their dentist write one. Do not do it. Don't do it. Just 2 academic recommendation letters and you can submit a third. Why am I saying the third? Because obviously the faculty are quite busy, right? And you can't necessarily count on them 100% submitting it on time. So by having a third recommender, it ensures you will get 2. You're buffering it, so to speak. Yes?
Do any of the other majors have additional components like the visual arts that require a portfolio? Or?
So that's a really good question. At the time you apply to the School of General Studies, you will tell us your top 2 choice majors. Excellent question. But you are not officially admitted into that major until you've been admitted to Columbia and met prerequisites for a given major. You see what I mean? So at the time you will start at Columbia, you are not majoring in anything just yet. You've shared with us, Alfred, I'm interested in the visual arts and maybe creative writing. But you actually don't declare that major until you've met the prerequisites. There is, one of the majors does have an additional competitive application. Who here is interested in creative writing? If you're interested, excellent, okay, good. We had one, come on guys, I usually get a couple hands. So if you are interested in creative writing, you would apply, you'd come to Columbia, but you would have to submit another competitive application for that after being admitted and enrolled with Columbia. Yes?
What about like 5-year master's programs through Columbia College? Is that possible?
Oh, I'm sorry, now are you a non-traditional or traditional student?
Non-traditional.
Not, so it's School of General Studies.
I know what I'm saying. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We do have a couple programs. School of International and Public Affairs, SIPA. We have a 5-year program with them, and a couple other ones. If you email me, in fact, would everybody like my email right now? Would you everybody shout it out? Okay. So my first name is Alfred, as in Hitchcock, and my last name is spelled A-Y-O-U, B as in boy. And my email address has nothing to do with my name. It is aa3240@columbia.edu. I'll repeat the email. aa3240@columbia.edu.
So A832440.
aa3240.
Oh, so 2 A's.
So at the School of General Studies, we actually admit for both the fall and the spring semester, okay? Now, I do have application fee waivers if you're interested. I only have fee waivers for the School of General Studies. I can't waive your application fee if you're interested in one of the other undergraduate colleges. But let me make sure to get those out there. We admit for both fall and spring, and we have a couple different deadlines. We have an early action deadline, and we have a regular decision deadline. Early action is listed in the very back. March 1st is early action. Regular decision is June 1st. Early action is non-binding. If you apply and you're admitted early action, you can still have opportunity to join another institution. I recommend to everybody here, if you're interested in the fall of 2015, take advantage of the early action deadline. Again, what I'm saying here, these deadlines, this is for the School of General Studies, Columbia College, the Food Foundation School of Engineering, and Barnard have their own separate deadlines, okay? Yes?
The general studies, is it part of the Columbia school or is it separate?
No, it's all underneath Columbia University. So who had the diploma question? There's a very good question about diploma. Very good, okay. I'm surprised, you gotta call me out on that. You're like, dude, you didn't answer, okay. So let me get to the diploma question now. Columbia College prints their diplomas in Latin. So if you can read Latin, wonderful, you can read your diploma. The School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, the School of General Studies, and Barnard College print their diplomas in English. You can go to the School of General Studies website, go to the Frequently Asked Questions page at the School of General Studies, and you can see a PDF of what a diploma from the School of General Studies looks like. And it says, Columbia University, at the very top, Bachelor's of Arts in whatever your major is, okay? It's a Columbia University degree. You're a part of the Columbia University Alumni Network. You are a fully integrated undergraduate student at Columbia. You have the same opportunities in terms of research, the same, again, class space. You sit side by side together, Columbia College and School of General Studies students. There is no separation there. We even have School of General Studies students that are on athletic teams at Columbia. We have a veteran on the baseball team right now. So I want to stress, you can have as integrated of experience as you want. You cannot, though, live in dormitories. We only have apartment-style housing. And I will say this, that the apartment-style housing is limited, and priority is typically given to students coming from great distances. So if you're like coming from Norway or Israel or California, being that you're in Bergen County right now, your chances of receiving housing are not as strong, I have to be honest, but you can still apply for it and see what happens. So, Yes.
If you apply for early action and you've been admitted, are you already given like priority over the housing?
Yes, you would be given more priority. So if you're interested in our housing, early action is what I really suggest that you do. We also have a priority decision deadline in early January. I don't have the date off the top of my head because we just recently introduced it. But everybody just write down priority decision deadline and email me, okay? Send me an email and I will get you that date. So if you want to apply in early January, you'll even get a decision sooner. That means more time for you to plan. Transfer credits, who's interested in that? Very good. Okay, so we will transfer up to 60 credit hours towards your Columbia University degree at the School of General Studies. You have to complete 124 in order to graduate, which means you have at minimum 64 left to complete at Columbia. Transfer courses that typically, that are successfully transferred are courses that are similar to what we offer in the liberal arts vein. So if you see subjects that we are offering as majors, those should be able to transfer. If you took art history here, sociology, political science, if you've taken statistics, if you've completed French, Spanish, German, Russian, whatever have you, if we offer it as a major here, it should be able to transfer. It has to be grade of C or better. And something else that we don't do is we do not transfer intersession courses. So if you took a 2 or 3 week session course in the winter, for instance, here at Bergen, we do not transfer those. They have to be grades of C or better. They have to be courses similar to what we offer, liberal arts courses, yes.
What about a course from a satellite campus?
That's fine, yeah, as long as it's Bergen Community College.
But no winter courses? Or?
No winter courses. Now let's say you took several courses that are, oh, and then if anybody filled out that card, before you guys leave, it would be a great assistance, take care. It would be great assistance if you have not filled that out yet, just go ahead and start filling it out, because I am going to, actually, I'm doing well on time, aren't I? What time is it, right? Yeah, I'm doing quite well on time, so I got time. Yeah, I've got until 1:30 with you guys. I apologize. So, in terms of pre-professional courses, if you took criminal justice, if you took several communications courses, of the 60 hours that we can transfer, you can only transfer up to 6 pre-professional courses. So those would be courses that are similar to or courses that we do not offer. At Columbia. Nursing, for instance, we don't offer nursing for undergraduate students. So of the 60, we could only transfer up to 6 nursing credits. Did that stimulate a question based on that, what I just shared? Yes?
If we leave Bergen with associates, Columbia would then take credits gained within our associate's degree?
Yes, absolutely, but we don't guarantee just because you have an associate you'll get the maximum 60. We will only transfer courses that are similar to what we offer. So if you got an associate's and the majority of your courses are criminal justice, we don't offer criminal justice at Columbia, so how can we transfer them? We can only transfer up to 6 credit hours of pre-professional courses, and those are counted towards as electives towards your major. Now, some caveats come up. One thing I want to stress is that, oh, thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you as well. The School of General Studies, in the application process, we do not require that you meet a certain number at the School of General Studies. I have to, stress this, because when I start talking about transfer credits, many students then think, well, all of a sudden they have to get 60 credit hours in order to transfer. And at the School of General Studies, you can transfer at any stage in your journey. So if you have 15 credit hours here at Bergen, if you have 30 credit hours, if you have the 60 credit hours, if you've been here and you want 2 associate's degrees and you have 80 credit hours right now, you still can transfer to School of General Studies. But we will only transfer a maximum of 60 credit hours. In fact, the School of General Studies is the only undergraduate school at Columbia that allows students seeking second bachelor's degrees to transfer. So if you already have a bachelor's degree, if anybody already has a bachelor's in here, this would be the place that you would come to as well. Hey, take care. Absolutely, take care. We're also the only undergraduate school at Columbia that allows students to attend part-time. So if you need to attend part-time at any stage in your academic journey at the school at Columbia, at GS you can do that. But we are not a night school, so you cannot expect to complete your degree at night. While you can take night classes, you would never be able to complete an entire degree at night. Yes?
What's the deferment period, or is there a deferment?
We can yeah, very good question. For the School of General Studies, you can defer for up to 1 calendar year, academic year. Yes.
And knowing exactly what credits are going to transfer, we don't know until after we're accepted.
You've
right?
got it, yeah. So every single admitted student will receive an entrance credit report. Now there are two areas I always like to mention because they frequently come up with students. So raise your hand if you've taken college algebra, for instance. I actually took college algebra. College algebra is not offered at Columbia University, so we don't transfer college algebra. But we will transfer statistics and we will transfer any pre-calculus math or higher. In addition, English composition, that's another area that frequently comes up. Remember when I was talking about the core curriculum and I said, you know, it's disciplines that you explore within. So it's not classes that are mandated. It's not like a listing of courses that you have to run through, but disciplines that you're going to explore. We don't tell you what foreign language to get an intermediate level within. You can pick that. We don't tell you which natural science courses to take. You would pick that. But there is one course that every new student, regardless of what stage they're transferring in, they may be a first-time freshman, they may be a transfer with an associate's degree, they may have a complete bachelor's degree. Every new student takes university writing for their first semester. So because of that, we will take your first English composition, so English composition 1, but we will not take the second English composition. Only transfer up to 4 credit hours of English composition. Does that mean that if you did take English composition 2, that, what did I take that for? No, it's still, that goes a part of your journey, that's built your foundation, that ensures that you're a stronger writer, which is something that you're definitely going to need to be if you're coming to Columbia. Yes?
If your major is philosophy and you're taking a lot of courses in philosophy, will all of those transfer?
Yes, absolutely, if you received a grade of C or better. So philosophy is not an issue. English and English literature, if you took European literature, American literature, whatever literature courses they offer here, not a problem. So yeah, I want to stress that. Yes?
Yeah, so like summer classes are also okay?
Summer classes are fine because we offer summer classes.
Okay.
So we offer, 6-week courses, that's not an issue.
Oh.
Yes?
So for when I apply with my transcript from Bergen, does it like recalculate my GPA?
Yeah, you start afresh when you come to Columbia. If you, is that what you were asking?
No,
Forgive me,
no.
I kind of jumped ahead of, yeah. No, so we will calculate our own GPA first and foremost. And then if you are admitted to Columbia, you have a Columbia GPA then as well. Yes?
How highly do you look upon leadership positions, whether it be inside?
Yeah, those are definitely important, and especially if you're a traditional student here, extracurricular activities are very important for traditional students because they set you apart. Many of you have gone on a similar journey. Many of you were in honors and AP courses, you've taken the same classes, in fact. You just recently all took the same standardized tests. You're now taking very similar courses. So how do you set each other apart? Well, oftentimes it's extracurricular activities, and as well as leadership. And one thing that the college really stresses, Columbia College, is they want to see that you were heavily active in high school, that carried through to Bergen, and then how are you going to be active at Columbia? Now with the School of General Studies, it's a little bit different. Well, extracurriculars are wonderful, and if you were heavily engaged, share that on your application, and if it's a significant element of your life journey, please share that. But what I want to note and stress is this, is that many of you might be very busy with another job. Who here doesn't have time necessarily to really engage in extracurricular because you're working, for instance? That's a strong likelihood, and you're a non-traditional student. So our focus is going to be that we want to see that you, what perspective are you going to bring that is different from a traditional undergraduate student? How are you non-traditional? Why did you take that time off? Those are the kind of things that we're looking for. Does that make sense? Okay, hand up.
I had a question about, I have 2 jobs right now, and I'm not really able to go into any extra.
So if you're a traditional student, you're traditional, correct?
Yeah.
Meaning you've never taken time off. You would discuss that. Don't be afraid. So you would discuss the fact that you have 2 jobs. How has that helped you? How has that developed you as a person? Discuss that.
Alright.
I'm sure, team building. I'm sure you might have a leadership, and even if you don't, you have to work with other people. You have to get, so there's areas you can certainly parse out from those experiences that are relevant to a college application.
Alright, thank you.
Yes?
If you're someone who's worked extensively with nonprofit organizations, how do you share that in the
Yes.
essay?
Well, in the essay, if this is something that was very meaningful to your life, let's say you were an activist for undocumented immigrants in the United States, and that's something that was very meaningful to you, it's part of your story, then obviously, yes, share that in your autobiographical essay. If you worked with, an advocacy group for, various underrepresented populations, whatever it is, nonprofits, whatever it is, if it's a part of your story, if it's something that's very meaningful to you, share that. Share that with the admissions committee. Yes?
Do you guys offer a scholarship for undocumented students? Is there any opportunities?
The new student scholarship is for students whether they are international or whether they are U.S. citizens. So that new student scholarship that I mentioned, where the average is anywhere from $8,500 to $10,000 for new students, that is regardless of your citizenship.
So there was the new student scholarship, and there was the one for.
Then Bergen, we have one scholarship currently that is for a Bergen Community College student. It's $12,000.
And how do you apply for that one?
That one you don't. We actually award it to one of the Bergen Community College admitted students. Yes.
So you run the potential of winning the
Act-
awarded scholarship, or it's one or the other?
It's one or the other. Yes. Forgive me. Yes.
I think also if you're an honors student, you get $9,000 in scholarship to go to Columbia.
On average, the new student scholarship is anywhere from $8,500 to $10,000. So you might be confusing it with that. Like if you're thinking of, oh, I had a friend last year who came, and that was probably the new student scholarship. So the scholarship that we have designated specifically for Bergen students, and priority, although you don't have to be an honor student, but priority is given to an honor student, is $12,000. That's a single scholarship for $12,000. Yes.
You said for creative writing, there's a separate application, right?
That's not until you've been admitted and enrolled at Columbia.
I know, but could you explain what that entails?
You would have to go to their website, go to the creative writing section, and look into that. Absolutely.
Okay.
That same thing goes with any majors. If there's any majors that you have follow-up questions with, our website's quite robust in information. Just go on if you want to. Tell me about financial economics, biochemistry, neuroscience and behavior, everything like that.